afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Last breakout session of a 2-day conference about data. Fair play. It's not a crowd bringer or a crowd pleaser sometimes. So I'm Steve. I work for Market Location. We're a B2B data provider, and we help businesses understand the data they've got, understand the size of the market, and try and help them with the services and solutions that they're presenting to their clients in a really compliant and hopefully engaging way. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can use B2B data to both grow the clients that you've got and find new clients. However, some of the things I'm going to talk about will be relevant to you whether or not you're in B2B or B2C. How many of you are in B2B, the world of B2B? A few of you. That's good. That's good. So the rest, I assume, are B2C, and hopefully this will be useful for you. I'm going to start by asking you some questions. Who's currently using data, and how are you using it? Go for it.
Well, I'm an email marketer, so I do
Okay.
emails, and it's all about data, like rates, big rates, subscriber rates, everything. So we test everything, and got everything back from data.
Okay, that's brilliant. What do you want to get out of this session?
I guess what I think could be more valuable is how we use data and anything more.
Okay. Well, hopefully I'll get there. Anyone else? Go on.
Well, I am a company advisor.
Okay.
So I'm not directly working with the data, I work more on the strategy side. However, one of the companies I am advising is a winery, high-impact winery.
Okay.
And to locate clients that fit the profile of the company.
Okay.
Is a
Yeah.
challenge.
Okay.
So that
Well, hopefully some of what we covered today will help you with that. And
I look at Google Analytics a lot.
okay.
Our website, but I'm not getting a complete brilliant picture. I know I'm just scratching the surface.
Fine. Okay. Well, we'll try and cover some of those points, and if anything that I cover today doesn't cover those, to avoid sounding like a teacher, see me after, and we'll see what we can help you with. So, what is B2B data, or what is data? B2B data, or refers to, in this particular instance, specifically related to business entities, so information that's related to the business entity or your customer. This can be a whole range of things. It can be the size of the company, how they operate, where they operate, who their customers are, what their purchasing behaviour is, and all of this can be used to guide sales and marketing teams to better understand not just how to get that sales and marketing message across, but how to build a bit more of a strategic picture of who they should be and shouldn't be targeting. There's lots of different types of data, and some of the key ones I'll talk about here. So we've got firmographic data, which is essentially the information about a business. So where it trades, how many staff it's got, its financial turnover, the market sector that it's in, that type of thing. You've then got technographic data. So if anyone in the room is providing tech solutions to other organisations, knowing what tech your potential customers are using can be quite useful in order to deliver a message through email that gives them an insight into what you can do and why they should work with you. Behavioural data, so how are they interacting with you, that's a Google Analytics type example, as well as what are they buying and who are they buying it from. And then there's the key one, which is the contact data. So you want to be able to get in contact with them in some way. Is that through phone? Is that through email? Direct mail through the post? Which is still very much a thing. Or are there other ways that you want to contact and interact with them? So why is it important to have data? I think some of the questions that were thrown out right at the beginning emphasize why it's important to have data. So from an email marketing point of view, you want to be able to get a high deliverability rate. You want to be able to get into that inbox. If you can't get into the inbox, your open and click-through data is completely pointless. You want to identify who your target customers are. This all helps with being able to create lead generation campaigns that are relevant. It also helps improve customer retention, because if you know a bit about the customers that you've currently got, you can speak to them in a way that is direct as opposed to fluffy and waffly and around the houses. And accurate data allows companies to tailor their offering. If you're speaking to insurance brokers, you want to be able to speak to them in a way that insurance brokers can understand and communicate. There's no point speaking to finance in a whole holistic way when actually insurance and banking can be very different, and that message needs to be communicated effectively. So where do you get data? You mentioned Google Analytics. Sorry to put you on the spot, but where is your client currently getting data from for to look at their customer database or their customer market?
Yeah, well, they have some issue of Google Analytics as well.
Yep.
People own in-house build data.
So legacy data.
Yeah. Well, they have contact with not only B2B but also B2C.
Mm-hmm.
And also they are members of different associations.
Okay. Okay. There are lots of sources of data, and as you've just highlighted, there's several sources that you can take from that might be unverified or may not have been checked, and there's assumptions made around that data. Legacy data is probably the starting point for a lot of organisations. So what's currently in their CRM, what do they know, who do they know? Social media databases like LinkedIn, so for sales and marketing outreach, salespeople will prospect from LinkedIn. There are some things to be cautious of around using LinkedIn data, particularly those that are in B2B sales and marketing in the room may be aware of some of the news last week around large data scrapers who have now been removed from LinkedIn. And if you're relying on data scrapers to fuel your pipeline, look at how you're collecting data now and look at what that might look like in not a year's time, but in about 2 months' time, when LinkedIn really starts to clamp down on who's taking their data and how it's being used. Trade shows, so events like today, you meet people, you take a business card, that gets into a CRM. Industry publications, and then there's third-party data providers, which, by the way, we are one of those. So we can help you with understanding your market, the size of it, etc. Wherever you get data, though, it's really important to ensure that the source is compliant and they're behaving in the right way, and that you, in turn, behave in the right way. Focusing on email marketing, put yourself in the recipient's seat. How do you want to be email marketed to, and how do you respond to emails? Think about that when you're using data and putting your message in front of someone else. So how to use data? There's loads of ways that it can be used effectively. You can enhance your targeted marketing and improve sales strategies. So if you know about your customer size and you know that generally you work with butchers, bakers and candlestick makers, and you've got 40% of your data is butchers, you probably want to speak to that portion of your data in a particular way. But if you know how many staff those butchers have got and what their financial turnover is, you might be able to understand some of their pain points and be able to communicate with them in a really effective way. You can drive customer engagement. So if you leverage some of the insights that you've got around your current customers and translate that into the prospects that look like your customers, you're more likely to win by using accurate data. You can also utilise data effectively to uncover opportunities for products and services. So if you know who their customers are, if you know they import or export, are there relevant services or ways that you can help them that match the insights that you've already got. Identify new customers. So B2B data can help identify new customers and undiscovered markets. I think a lot of sales and marketing leaders will make assumptions around who's in their database based on who they're selling to. But if you don't know who's visiting your website, you don't know who's interacting with your email or phone communication, and you're not monitoring that, it's going to be very, very difficult to grow markets or get into markets that could have growth potential for you. Data analytics tools can help you segment audiences based on lots of different criteria. So market size, customer size, turnover, their buying habits, what they've bought from you in the past, etc. And if you use that within your marketing efforts, it will enhance the outreach and you will see higher conversion rates. This just gives you a bit of an idea of what the UK business universe looks like. But the reason I put this slide in is to try and emphasise some of the points I've already talked about. There are 5.5 million registered businesses, that doesn't include sole traders or the self-employed, that are within the UK. 4 million of those have no employees. So they are one person at a limited business. How you communicate with smaller businesses is really, really crucial. 90% of businesses in the UK are SMEs and 78% have less than 5 employees. So think about the data you've got on those businesses and your customers. If you've got a named email address, that's brilliant. But don't assume that an info@ is a bad email address. Because if 78% of businesses have got less than 5 employees, their email address is an info@. And it's probably being monitored by more than one employee. So don't dismiss what the information that you've got in front of you. Use it to your advantage and bear in mind what the size of the opportunity is. So keeping clients. You can retain clients using you can retain and acquire clients using B2B data. It will help you understand interaction, it will help you understand satisfaction levels. You can produce, customer surveys to understand how your customers like to be communicated. If you produce that survey, ensure that you act on the answers and the data within that survey. Regular analytics of client feedback and engagement is really important. Again, if you notice things like Google Analytics and you notice particular times that people are visiting your website or particular territories that people are visiting your website from, understand that and interrogate that a little bit further and perhaps build a strategy around speaking to people at certain times or sending an email out at a particular time in order to drive traffic back to your website. Understanding people moves at businesses is really important. So if you've got customers and you don't speak to some of those customers for 3, 6, 9 months at times because actually the solution is in place and there's check-ins. If you're not on top of the contact moving or an address change or a branch opening, it makes it very difficult to grow not just the relationship but the revenue that you're getting from that client at the moment. So B2B data for sales and marketing, I think I've covered quite a lot of the points that I wanted to, but you can identify customer needs, preferences and buying behaviours. Aligning this with personalised campaigns and personalised communication will help you increase that engagement and drive conversions and conversations effectively. Intent data. I'm assuming that everyone here has got a website, and there's no greater intent than someone being on your website. If you're able to capture in some way those visits to your website, either through the Contact Us page or by doing some reverse IP matching and working with a supplier that can help you do that, you're able to see who wants to interact with you and who's showing intent around your product. There's also a lot of really useful intent tools out there that will use the meta description and the meta tags that are behind your website to identify particular keywords that people are searching, and using a trusted data provider to provide you with contact details of businesses that are searching that type of thing can increase your stickability with those that are showing intent and want to buy from you. It's also really important to remember that 84% of buyers will buy from a supplier that reaches out first. Now, by no means am I diluting any of the value that anybody in this room offers. But if someone's solution doesn't quite meet the mark, but that supplier has reached out first, they're more likely to buy from that supplier. So knowing who's interacting with you and when is really, really crucial. Cold calling isn't dead. Sorry, email marketer. But cold calling isn't dead, and 54% of senior decision makers will take a cold call if it's delivered in the right way. Now, to be effective with a cold call, first of all, you need the number. You need to ensure that you've got the right phone number. If you've got other data around that business, like the person's name that you want to speak to, it's going to get you through a gatekeeper a lot quicker, because you build that interaction, you build that communication, build a mini rapport with the person that you're trying to get through to. But also, if you know a little bit about their business, how many staff they've got, what their financial turnover is, you can probably align that with other businesses that you work with, and you can kind of mirror those pain points. But also, there's data out there that is content driven that can help you understand how businesses operate, why they might need your service and solution, and being able to get that through on a cold call is really, really important. And email marketing. Probably the most preferred method of any marketeer in B2B in the world is to get into someone's inbox. There's loads of ways you can do that. There's batch and blast emailing, which is kind of a bit of hit and hope. There's nurturing, so trying to tell a story around why your service and solution is preferred over a competitor's. But also ensuring that the next message is in line with the action of the email recipient. So where did they click on the last email? How did they respond? Did they go to the website, or did they fill out a contact us form, or did they just read the story and actually the next thing is to re-enhance that story? Personalising email is important, and having the right email to get to the right person ensures that your brand reputation is secured. Sending emails out can be seen as intrusive, it can be seen as loud and a bit abrasive. But if you get into the right inbox, into front of the right person with the right message, your response should be positive. And direct mail. So direct mail, postal campaigns within B2B are being leveraged more and more than before. No one sends post anymore. So actually you get a letter on your desk, you're more likely to open it. And if you get the right person with the right contact details at the right business, they may well respond to you. Recent statistics show that around about for every 1,000 pieces of direct mail sent, you should get DMA say that you're getting around about 40 positive responses at the moment, which again slightly goes against email marketing. But if you use all of this as a joined up multi-channel approach, using the right data and using your data effectively, you should get the responses and the conversions that you want. It's really important to measure success and agree at the beginning how you're going to measure that success. What are your KPIs going to be for using data? Is it going to be a number of connects around a phone call? Is it going to be the number of engagements you get from an email or the number of visits that you increase to your website? Really, really important to agree the KPIs at the beginning, ensure that the data you're using is working as hard as it possibly can, but don't be afraid to be flexible and move away from the KPI if you're not seeing the results that you want to see. Managing data. Probably the most crucial thing when it comes to how your data sits within your organisation. It's important that you've got a CRM, and for smaller businesses there are a lot of free to use CRM tools out there. I know that the likes of HubSpot offer a very diluted version of their enterprise CRM for SMEs to use. And it's where you can house contacts, it's where you can append things like number of employees, the sector, how many branches they've got, and depending on the CRM and its capabilities will depend on how much information you can align with businesses that you're working with and want to work with. The more information you've got on the data that you own, the better you can use it. Data governance, dry, I know, but we're really fortunate in the UK that we have GDPR. It protects every single person in this room, and it ensures that whoever is using data and whoever has your contact details has a responsibility to use it responsibly. If you misuse data, the ICO can fine you 4% of your annual turnover. And if you're a global business, it will be 4% of your global turnover, not just your UK turnover. If you're a small business, getting something wrong, that can cripple you. So it's really important that if you don't know the answer, ask. And the ICO have got a lot of free tools on their website around how to build privacy policies, how to ensure that you're using data correctly and efficiently, and they're really happy to help you understand the right way to navigate and the right things to do. The importance of data auditing. Managing data and housing data, it's your responsibility to ensure that on a regular basis that data is updated, is cleaned in some way, and the people that are opting out, you are removing from your database. Those that that had opted in at the beginning may opt out 3 months later. It's important that you've got a process in place to audit that. It's also really important to understand that the business that you engaged with 6 months ago may well have gone out of business 6 months later, or they might have moved premises, or a contact may have changed. Without auditing that data and having some way to understand what's changed and what hasn't, it can put you in a position where the data you've got is now not of great use to you. So, a few things to look out for. If you're acquiring data, know where your data has come from. Ensure the right permissions are applied to it. So, if anyone's got any questions about opting in, opt out, legitimate interest, assumed consent, grab me afterwards and we can talk around that. But the ICO can also provide really clear answers on all of those different consent measures. Be cautious of data scrapers. There are a lot of organisations out there that if you acquire data from them, you turn into a data scraper on their behalf. So it's really important to understand the terms and conditions of any data processor or data provider that you're working with. Ensure that wherever you get your data from, the source of that data is as compliant, as reputable as it possibly can be. Ensure you've got clear KPIs and you monitor these as you go. Without setting out right at the beginning the success you want to see from the data that you've got, all you're doing is chasing your tail. But also monitor it, because the market changes, people move, things happen. Data decays at about a rate of 30% a year. So your KPIs need to change to represent that. Keep the data safe. So get a CRM and make sure it's managed and monitored. Using data for one approach is not advisable. Multi-channel is best. If you're doing email, follow up with a phone. Direct mail, follow up with email and phone. Ensure that your website is monitored and you're able to understand who's visiting it, and put those visitors into email campaigns or calling campaigns. Be compliant and don't be afraid to ask for help. The more help you ask for, the less likely you are to go wrong. I hope that's been helpful. I feel like a grasshopper about a little bit, but if anyone's got any questions, the floor is yours. Oh, some hands.
How often do you recommend auditing data? Thank you. How often do you recommend auditing data? Once a quarter or once a year?
If you're not auditing data at all at the moment, once a year is a really good start. My recommendation, if you have the capability to do it, is once a quarter. It depends on what that audit process looks like though. So there are suppliers and providers out there that can audit that data for you, and it depends on what the results of that audit is that you're trying to achieve. Now, a lot of CRMs can be self-audited as long as you've got the right people putting the right information in as they go. That's the dream, and it's not necessarily something that always happens. If you've got a lot of data, and when I say a lot of data, more than 20,000 records once a quarter is where I would look at. If you don't have any mechanism to update data as you go, then once a year as a bare minimum.
I'm probably, as we mentioned last night, I'm probably the worst data person in the world. I don't have anything other than a very flimsy mailing list that I don't do anything with. I've just recently registered a Google Analytics that I don't remember how to log into. So for people like me, where do you expect or suggest, because I've got to start doing it, because after the talks that I've heard, I need to be more strategic and more intentional about sales, and the only way I'm going to start doing that properly is with data.
Yeah.
So, like, starting from the basics, like, what should I do first?
I think if you're not doing anything right now, it's creating a plan that starts at the end. What do you want to get out of the data that you've currently got? And then you can start to work backwards from there and understand, okay, so if I want to tell my customers more about services and offers, then I need to be able to find a way of getting permission to do that. If the end result is to find more people that look like the people that you're currently working with, there are businesses that can help you do that and can help you understand that. I think the advice I would give is that create a plan that's based on the results you want to get. If you've still created a plan and you're still not sure how to get from A to B or from A to nearly B, then going out and finding a partner that can help you do that and to take that away from you would be my advice. If you're really good at running a business and selling vegan patties, then do that and let someone else do the bit you're not very good at. You would employ someone to sell if you can't sell. So find a supplier that can help you understand the data that you've got. Any other questions? I've either answered everything or I've bored you all to tears. But either way, thank you very much for your time. And if anyone's got any questions you want to ask outside of this forum, let me know. Thanks a lot.